Massachusetts, I'm Amelia White, and today is October 20th, 1880. A very important woman has passed away. She was a writer and advocate for Indians, women, and African Americans. She was Lydia Maria Child, and today this segment is dedicated to her.
In Medford, Massachusetts, on February 11, 1802, Lydia Maria Francis was born. Her father, David Francis, was a baker, and her mother, Susanna Francis, died when Lydia was 12 years old. She was born into America's new middle class. Lydia was educated at home, at a local dame school, and a women's seminary. Lydia was close with her brother Converse Francis and went to live with him after her brief teaching career. Inspired by a conversation with Converse, she wrote Hobomoke, her first book, which is about early American life, and it was published in 1824. In 1827, Lydia became engaged to David Lee Child, a Harvard graduate and lawyer. They married the following year. David was an editor and publisher of the Massachusetts Journal. He briefly served on the state legislature and spoke at local political gatherings. Lydia began to write for him and wrote frequently about the mistreatment of Indians in the juvenile miscellanea. Lydia wrote another book, The First Settlers, around the time President Jackson proposed moving the Cherokee Indians out of Georgia. Many subscriptions to the paper were canceled, and David spent time in prison for attacking Jackson's movement of Cherokee Indians project. Lydia wrote an appeal in favor of that class of Americans called Africans in 1833, which she is most remembered for. She published it in hopes of convincing people to abolish slavery and have the slaves become part of America as citizens. The book had two effects. One, it did convince many Americans to side with the abolition group. Two, it decreased her popularity among the people who didn't want to get rid of slavery. The rest of her life was dedicated to the abolition movement with her husband. She published other writings like Letters from New York, Flowers for Children, Fact and Fiction, and The Progress of Religious Ideas. In 1857, she published Autumnal Leaves, thinking her career was over. However, in 1859, she would be back in writing again. Lydia wrote letters to the Anti-Slavery Society pamphlet. One of her lines she wrote was, "Her in the North, after we have helped the mothers, we do not sell the babies." This was a response to the wife of Virginia Senator James M. Mason, who defended slavery by pointing out the kindness that Southern ladies help slave women give birth. After that, Lydia published more anti-slavery writings. In 1861, she edited the autobiography of Harriet Jacobs, an ex-slave, which was published as Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. After slavery ended in 1865, she wrote the Freed Men's Book to help ex-slaves become educated. In 1868, Lydia last wrote an appeal for the Indians, proposing solutions for justice. Lydia Maria Child died today in Wayland, Massachusetts, at the farm her and her husband owned since 1852. Thank you for joining me this evening. Have a good night.